Hello and welcome to the GrapeSEED Official Podcast. This episode will be the first in our 10 Things series, where we sit down with a coach or former teacher and have a fun, relaxed conversation about grapeseed. Our 10 Things are a set of 10 questions the conversation will be built around, but we will most certainly talk about many other things too. Our guest today is Miklos Fejer, who you might have heard in some of our Open the Box podcasts. He is a former GrapeSEED teacher and coach and is now a GrapeSEED evangelist, spreading the good word of our program to schools and parents around Japan. Welcome back to the podcast, Miklos. I
am a former teacher and a former coach. I'm currently incarcerated. No, I'm just kidding. I am an evangelist, a GrapeSEED evangelist here in Japan.
Great. So let's just get started. We'll jump right into the first question and then see where it goes from there.
Excellent.
All right, so number one here. What is your favorite material and why?
In grapeseed, right?
Yeah, in grapeseed.
Let's say burlap. I actually, sometimes people, because I've done the training a lot and I talk with people about grapeseed all the time, I have certain stories and other components that I go straight to talk about, to use as examples. And I do love the story Betty Bird, but I have to say, this is going to be a complete shock to some people out there, but Betty Bird is not indeed my favorite grapeseed material.
That's a shock to me.
It is shocking, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm so glad you had me on this podcast today, because
so you can clear this up.
Finally, the chance to clear the air on this.
All right,
and come clean about it.
Lay it on us.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's impossible to answer this question because it depends on the type of component for me. For example, my favorite song is That Kind of Day. And if you don't know it, go to Unit 20 right now on your app, pause this podcast, go to it, listen to it. Listen to it twice if you want, because it's one of the most lovely songs. Not just as an English grapeseed song, it's just a great song as a song. In the genre of songs, it's a great song. And I love it because the idea behind it, I mean, there are learning objectives and those kinds of things too for kids to, like, quote unquote learn English. But no, I mean, there are those important things, of course, too. But what it does, like with everything in grapeseed from the very beginning, and every lesson that we do, we're not actually teaching English, right? Like, we're teaching other things, and it happens to be in the form of comprehensible input in English so that kids can acquire it. And with this song, it's about the idea that rainy days. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit emotional here, because I sing this song almost every morning with my boys at home. Because it reinforces the idea that rainy days and windy days and snowy days are just as joyous and reasons to be happy as sunny days. Because a lot of times in society we have that thing where it's like, oh, sunny days are good and rainy days are a bummer. But that's not true at all. I mean, maybe for some people it is, and that's totally cool if you think that way. But that's why I love this song, because that's why I love Johnny Bear, in the Unit 8 story about the weather, because he loves all the seasons. Because when it's sunny, you can go out and play. When it's raining, you can stay inside and play. When it's snowing, you can get your sled. When it's raining, you can put a raincoat on and carry an umbrella. We never have to be sad because it's raining. We have an opportunity just to do other things. So that's about that song. So moving on to my next favorite.
Yeah, oh boy.
So let's say there's. I don't have a favorite chant and a favorite activity. That's not like that. There's one other thing. My favorite story is not Betty Bird. I like the feeling that Betty Bird gives me when I'm reading it to students. It reminds me of the first time I ever came here to this place, to where we are recording this now, which is Sendai, because I come from a place like in California in the U.S., where the seasons aren't as defined. Everything's always green. Actually, when I'm in California, it's always brown, like Northern California. But Betty Bird, I just love that feeling of the seasons changing and talking about it with kids, because kids are hyper aware of those kinds of simple things, and they love them, and they remind me to love those things, like leaves turning brown and falling down. I forgot about it. When you get to be like 30, 35, now for me 40 years old, you tend to forget to enjoy those things. But when you read a story about the changing of the seasons to a child, and their face lights up, and you're just like, oh yeah, I need to remember those things to be a happier person. So that's what Betty Bird does for me. And also, like the feeling of seasons changing, and also the world moving forward, and not being afraid of cats climbing your tree, like because that's going to happen. Cats are going to climb your tree, but don't worry about it.
Goodbye, my friends, goodbye. I'm sad to say goodbye. It was a good day, but now I will say goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.